Hey everybody, it's Durger time, and welcome back to another episode of our NXT Arrival series, where we are taking the origins of NXT all the way back in 2014. Well, mostly the origins, I suppose, when you remembered it on the network, and we're going to try to turn it into our own thing and see if we can become a powerhouse that could potentially take over the wrestling world, or if we are doomed to forever be the minor leagues of WWE. So, we had a pretty good first show. It went fairly well, 36, which sounds really low. But remember, all we really needed is to be higher than our ranking in terms of our region to really grow. And our region is low. Right now, we are not even small yet. We're still a tiny company. And trying to develop up to become a bigger kind of, a bigger company. Like, technically, it could have been small. We had argued of this back and forth back on a live stream months ago when we were starting to set this up. And ultimately, after play testing it, did feel like it made more sense for it to be tiny and growing. So our first goal is to build that fan base. That is our number one goal here. We've laid the foundation, and that would have been, NXT Arrival would have gotten us there. But now it's about what do we do in this next year to achieve a popularity of 35 in the Southeast region. So that's going to be our goal, is how can we develop that and move up. So that is the primary focus of the first stage of this save. Remember, this is going to be a long-term save, so hang with it. It's not quite a local to global, but a lot of this is going to be us trying to develop NXT and seeing what we can do in order to bring people in, bring people out, who we can hire. We do have one hire pending, but we also have a couple people in the wings I want to look at, and I think we should do that real quick. I kind of want to get a lot of the people that showed up over the years, right? So we're at, obviously we're going to be looking at, is he not in, he's under Prince. Yeah, I always spelled Fergal wrong. We're going to be looking for Fergal. We could grab him at any time. But we're not going to do it right away. We're going to be bringing people in, but we definitely want to keep a short list of people handy. Kevin Owens, we already have waiting in the wings, ready to sign with us, hopefully. But we kind of want to bring in all those names and things like that. Actually, I'm not going to do this on the screen because that would just take too much time, but you get the kind of ideas that we're going to want, the big names that aren't currently in WWE at this time. When we have the opportunity, we're going to want to try to jump on them and see if we can bring them in, because there's two problems with this NXT save. One, our star talent and our total talent in the company is going to be a little limited, and we're going to have to deal with what we have, right? The other major issue, though, is that at any time, as we see with this Bo Dallas call-up, they're going to be called up. There's no way to delay that. We get a 30-day notice, and they're going up, and we got to write them out. Now, we have a plan for Bo Dallas because we have a storyline set up for him called Bo Leave, which actually kind of was a real storyline, right? So we're pretty close to parity with the real world at this point, because he did get pulled up pretty much immediately after NXT Arrival, maybe like a month or two, I think a month after he lost the belt. So obviously we're going to have him go and fight Neville and probably lose, but we'll use that last rub to push Neville a bit. Our general goal in the rotation of wrestlers is that we're going to be trying to build people's star power heavily for our main company, but then we're going to want them to take a loss usually and leave the company so that some of that momentum can be gained to the next rising star. So that's sort of the rhythm of NXT, and I think that's the thing that when it was a developmental brand, it made it kind of interesting, because it wasn't about people just staying there forever. It was about them developing, building a character. Sometimes they'd go through multiple character iterations, but eventually they would become something of a superstar, and then on their way out, usually they would kind of give the rub a little bit to a new rising star. So if you think of like Sami Zayn taking a loss for Shinsuke Nakamura as he arrives in NXT, right? Or Neville, taking a loss for Sami while Sammy's star was on the rise. So that there's that kind of rhythm that we're going to be trying to want to do, and that's going to be a focus for our developmental territory itself. Now, but we don't know who's going to be showing up, who's going to be leaving. NXT also can send down people, which we will have to see how often they do. We don't really know how quickly that'll end up happening, but we'll be curious to see kind of how that shakes out. So let's go ahead and let's move along. Oh, one last thing. Finance issues. While our debt will be absorbed by WWE, they can just cancel us. And I noticed a very significant problem, which was the something I didn't fix. So if you notice that there is a difference here versus here, I changed this. I cheated a little bit because I realized that we did not set the production values correctly. This was set all the way to the max, which is insanely expensive for a tiny company that's making no money, but also is not really realistic, because if you looked at NXT back then, they did not have the high quality standards. Like, in a lot of ways, they tested things that became standard, but their studio set was much smaller. They didn't have the full lighting and pyro. They were more economical, and in a way, it actually looked better. But that was through, there's a term that's like creativity is often inspired through like the limitations that you have, and I think that was what happened with NXT. It's like, well, we don't have a big budget for a big stage, but what if we had these lights and these like light tubes, and we can kind of play around with them. So I lowered these, which cost us money, so I kind of gave ourselves a little bit of a buffer so we don't go immediately into debt as much and get shit canned by WWE. So if you're looking at that and wondering what the discrepancy was, I'm not going to do that really ever again. It was just to set and change our settings for our finances so that our production values are not out of control, because they were way set wrong. That was a scary moment when I logged in. I was like, oh no, this is going to be a problem. Anyways, let's go ahead and let's just sim on over to our next NXT show and get ready for the future. Looks like Stephanie McMahon has taken over the role of head booker in WWE. Was Triple H, but we have now moved into the ownership capacity of NXT. So in that regards, we needed somebody for that. So that means that we can hopefully do a little bit more in terms of loans and things like that we might be able to do. We got a lot of news here. Let's go ahead and take a look here what's going on. A lot of hirings, first of the year kind of situation. We're going to have to be looking at a little bit harder, because we're going to be scouting talent for WWE now, which is definitely a new thing. TNA, AAA are having some kind of tension. Now approach your former ally with a much more detached, neutral stance. There's no word on why their friendship is coming to an end, nor are there any sense of overtly hostility on their sides. Interesting. What a weird one. Matt Hardy entering a new feud in Ring of Honor, and AAA and TNA are outright at war. Fascinating. So that emerged quickly. That's not good for TNA, but they are like the cockroach of the wrestling universe. They will be fine. Mickie James also is coming to the roster. It was written for exclusive contract. It might be someone that they send down our way. Might not be. They can always sign people and send them right to the main roster. So that's always a possibility. We do have a contract with Kevin Steen, Mr. Kevin Owens. Let's go ahead and bring him in. And I think we're going to change his name now. Short name is also Kevin Owens, apparently. That will be fine. And there we go. Okay. So we do have him now. So earlier than we normally did, but I just wanted to scoop him up fast because we don't know what's really going to happen. And we'll start some drama, I think. We got some plans for him, probably right after the Bo leaves storyline. We're going to be changing things up and kind of playing around with that. We still have, I think, another day to go, because I think NXT is on Tuesdays now. Oh, no, it's not, Thursdays. So we have a few more days of sim. Let's go ahead and keep moving. We got some mail. Sin Cara is being called up. We haven't had a chance to really use the Lucha Dragons, so that's kind of a problem. Some handshake deals here. Nothing huge to worry about. The Sin Cara call up may put us into a problem here. So we should probably use the Lucha Dragons in some capacity to try to boost Kalisto a little bit. Anything else going on in the world here that we have to worry about real fast? A lot of hiring going on everywhere. So something we'll have to look at. Though a lot of these companies are going to be having non-exclusive contracts and nothing that we really have to worry about. Io Shirai won a title, and Alberto Del Rio became an authority, a new member of the Authority stable. We may see stables really get wonky in this, because I don't think this save was really well balanced yet for that. I kind of, like I said, I just kind of jerry-rigged this all together to get it to work, but that's fine. We're really just focused on ours. So Sin Cara in 28 days, not a huge deal. Like I said, we'll do some Lucha Dragon stuff, and have him kind of twilight off. We could always now, I think, also do some talent trades. Talent trading is unfortunate in this save now, though, because there is not a way to just offer cash for them, which was a nice feature in 2016. Instead, we had to do swaps or temporary trades, where I say, I'll give you, but I don't think they're going to take anybody, honestly. Yeah, they're just not going to. Talent trading is not permitted between parent and children. Parents can move talent around directly using their roster screens. So actually, we can't even talent trade. Oh man, so that's a problem. We just straight up can't even get them in. That's kind of a bummer. So there goes some minor plans that I had about bringing people back for a super show, because I can't even bring them in through the Alliance Talent Trade Network. That sucks. That's a real bummer. I did not realize that. Well, it is what it is, I suppose. Something we will have to deal with on our own, I guess. I mean, I could always do some shenanigans, kinda, but I really don't want to. So we will just play by the rules and play by the rules of how the child companies work, and we'll deal with it when we get there, I guess. Let's go ahead and let's book our episode of NXT here. Still don't have we have the Full Sail University. We don't actually have the Full Sail Arena, quote unquote, unfortunately. So we're just at the studio. We won't be able to actually make one, but this will do for now. I think we will be able to handle that. Set the broadcast on Hulu and network, so that is good. No backstage incidents, which is crazy. We do have some absences, some injuries. Enzo Amore and how did he get injured? Might be starting with an injury, actually. I don't remember him getting injured, but I might just be forgetting. Let's check medical real quick and take a look. Out for 5 months. Jeez. So we're going to have him basically be the mouthpiece for Big Cass. I don't remember. We just had them talk, I think, last time. So, yeah, his debut, how you doing? So he's just going to have to play the manager role. We should probably set that now. Mr. Colin Cassidy will get a manager. I'm trying to remember where to find the managers on here. Okay, I think we found it. So it should be under here. Yep. I forgot where this was. Shows you how often I do it. So Enzo is actually already managing Carmella, which I think he could do both. Not a big deal. So Enzo will be a manager for Colin Cassidy, be a mouthpiece. We'll have him do some singles competition, which will be fine. And, we'll work with it. Hopefully they don't get called up by then. I'm still really pissed off that we can't pull people in for talent trades for our alliance, because that's a real bummer. Let me know if you guys know of an alternate way to do that. Maybe, I don't think you can talk to a company and request people down or anything like that. So we might be stuck in a precarious situation when it comes to our roster management in terms of what we wanted to do. But hey, I mean, I guess that's realistic to NXT. We can't just demand things as a child company. So it is what it is. C'est la vie. Let's go ahead and let's book the show, and we'll come back for the preview and see what we have lined up for this episode of NXT Wrestling. All right, guys, we got a packed NXT show, 65 minutes. We are running actually 5 minutes over our allotment to get everything in. What do we have on this show tonight? Well, we're going to have the Lucha Dragons versus Dawkins and Fulton. So kind of an interesting mashup there. We also have our second match in our women's division tournament for the vacant belt. Tonight we have Sasha Banks versus Becky Lynch, both best friends, now forced to fight together in a tournament. We'll find out how that shakes out. And in our main event, we have NXT champion Adrian Neville in an exhibition match against Yoshitatsu, and we'll see how that shakes out as well. Let's go ahead and get to the show. So we start the show off with the Lucha Dragons versus Dawkins and Fulton. Dawkins, before he ever joined the Street Profits, he kind of fluttered around tag team divisions, having random tag partners. Of course, we have the now Madman Fulton, currently in the save Sawyer Fulton, who later joined Sanity before being written out of NXT. And they actually, very briefly around this time period, had a tag team. Just jobbers, just put together, never really went very far. And of course, we debut Kalisto and Sin Cara for our show. This match is a little rough here. Our road agent kind of messed up the match, so we should probably look at maybe getting a better road agent. Drake for a referee was awful, which is interesting. I think we might actually just need to improve his refereeing skill, because he actually is a pretty decent referee. But yeah, this is a work the crowd match. It did gain heat for the Ascension storyline as Lucha Dragons get some credibility as they defeat Dawkins and Fulton in 5 minutes. Kalisto pinning Sawyer Fulton. Sin Cara carried the match heavily carried the match at a 50. Kalisto had a 25, and Fulton and Dawkins had a 14-18. It seems crazy knowing the Street Profits as good as they are, but we got to remember this is many years ago, and Dawkins was a actual, I think, Performance Center trainee, so this is a developmental time for him. Unfortunately, the very vocal NXT crowd was not very happy with Dawkins or Fulton, which is pretty bad, and both of them were off their game. This is a rough beginning segment, but it is what it is. It's honestly, overall, 28's not horrible. It's higher than our average, which is really all we're looking for, but not a great way to start the show, even though it was a work the crowd match, and it does say we got the show off to a strong start, so I guess maybe it wasn't as bad. Not sure why. I must have set this wrong to off screen, but we still get a segment rating for him. Unfortunately, I don't think we give him a boost, but we have a Leo Kruger promo backstage, which is kind of exciting. So before he was Adam Rose, before he disappeared onto the indie scene, he was Leo Kruger. Honestly, one of the cooler character gimmicks from NXT that kind of got washed to the wayside, and we're going to bring that back here, at least in my interpretation of it. It was a little bit before my time, because it was really in 2013, early 2014, that he had this character before being rebranded in, I think, July of 2014 for the Adam Rose storyline. But we're going to keep him as Kruger for now and try to play up this South African big game hunter gimmick. So in a way, this is sort of a debut for him. He's backstage and he's holding a large hunting knife. Think of one of them big Bowie knives, you know? One that's like the size of someone's forearm, you know, like a real crazy big one. He's playing with it menacingly, kind of picking the dirt out of one of his fingernails with it as he kind of plays with the tip. And he goes and he looks at the screen and he says, you know, I've taken down a lot of big game in my day. From the sweltering heat of the Sahara to the thicks of the jungles of Laos. The stalking is the best part, learning your enemy, slowly sizing them up while perfectly camouflaged, finding their weakness, and finally striking. And as he says striking, he emphasizes the word by tossing the knife into the wooden front of a locker backstage, and it has so much force behind it that it lodges itself with a satisfying thud. There's only so much game out there to hunt. So I've come here for a bigger game. The type that poses a real challenge. The type that can fight back. So I've come to NXT, and I'm prowling, and I'm stalking, and soon I will strike. Gets a pretty good rating, even though we screwed up the off-screen. Though technically off-screen does kind of count, I guess, because he's not in the ring. But so he doesn't get any improvements from it. But we overall we do okay with the segment rating, even with that fumble. But Leo Kruger does show up in NXT, I guess officially in our save, and says that he's out there hunting somebody. After that, we have a absolutely horrendous. Sasha Banks had a poor gimmick, awful gimmick. Man, okay. So Sasha Banks is backstage and is having an interview with Renee Young, and they're talking about their upcoming match against Becky Lynch, and she says, so Sasha, NXT Universe is wondering, how will your tournament match affect your relationship with Becky Lynch? The two of you have called yourselves BFFs in the past and have run together pretty much everywhere in NXT. Sasha scoffs at the question and says Becky will be fine. She knows that what this tournament is really about. It's about the NXT Women's Championship. And I think we can put aside our friendship and a relationship for one day to have a competitive match together. Besides, we already know who's going to win this. As she kind of says smugly. So we have a bit of a tension there. Is are they going to still kind of run together? Becky and Sasha at this point had kind of broken away from Charlotte, and they're kind of like BFFs together. So that we can kind of have to find out to see if that relationship's going to break up early in our save or if it's going to maintain. And we follow this up, in fact, with our tournament match. So for the women's tournament, the first round, we have Sasha Banks versus her friend Becky Lynch. The match is okay, could be better. Becky Lynch has an in-ring performance of 32, Sasha only have 14. Overall, it's considered a terrible match, even though it does get the crowd hotter, and Sasha is not impressing the crowd, unfortunately. But she does defeat Becky Lynch in 10 minutes by pinfall while using the ropes for leverage. And obviously advances in the title tournament. Becky is absolutely shocked at this and is kind of upset about the whole situation. But Sasha is walking away, kind of smirking and smiling at her after she cheated to win. Obviously, the communication backstage between the two would seem to indicate that they were going to go out there and just have a fair fight together. Best woman wins. No hatred, no animosity, just competitors. And Sasha used their friendship to cheat, get the rope leverage, and ended up advancing through shenanigans. And we're starting to see the beginning of possibly a strained relationship between the two of them. Segment does not do very well, though. Sasha in our save might want to look at boosting her stats somewhere, because, while maybe not necessarily the best wrestler, definitely has sort of a character momentum that we should be looking for. So I might have to tweak her. Not a big deal. We'll look at it. And here's some people's favorites. That actually was a favorite of mine for a while. I still am kind of a Enzo and Big Cass mark, but unfortunately, obviously Enzo is injured, so we can't do much with this here. But we can have them talk a good game, and hopefully boost up Big Cass here, who's still Colin Cassidy. And Enzo and Big Cass come to the ring. Enzo still in his crutches with his broken leg, but he's got a microphone, and he intends on using it, unfortunately. And he does the whole "my name is" shtick in the beginning, of course. But eventually they get to the ring and says, "You all know that. Unfortunately, we had plans to run roughshod over the tag team division, but this gimp leg here seems to have a disagreement with that plan. But all these weak teams get to rest easy, because instead we're putting the singles competition on notice. Because my man here, Mr. Colin Cassidy, well, you see, he's ready for action. And there's some undisputed facts to dish out about Big Cass here. That he's tall as hell, he's strong as hell, and he's ready to fight. And while you may think you're as hard as us, there's one undeniable fact. That everybody in NXT is SAWFT. Soft. How you doing?" So, we got the Enzo Big Cass kind of thing going on. Colin Cassidy going to be in singles competition. Enzo at his side doing the mic game. Improvised very well. Everything is doing well here. And overall, 27 is not too bad for what we're looking at. This match is a little underwhelming. It's extremely short, but Colin Cassidy defeats CJ Parker, who at this point is just a jobber for us, in 4 minutes by pinfall with an East River crossing. They both actually had the same in-ring performance. The crowd's not digging CJ Parker. He did kind of have go-away heat at this point, so that makes sense. And Drake is still screwing up our referee game, unfortunately. And Enzo is ringside as a manager, doing great work to boost up the segment. And we give Colin Cassidy a singles win to start his temporary singles career while Enzo is out of action. Another debut here, we have Bull Dempsey. Remember Bull Dempsey? Actually does pretty well here. He had a 28. This is a wild brawl match. Birch was off his game, but Bull Dempsey does get a win. Had subpar wrestling, unfortunately little heat. Bull Dempsey ends up defeating Danny Burch in 3 minutes by pinfall, showing a dominance here. Did deserve better announcing. We actually struggled here in terms of our announcing scene. And this segment didn't go well. Not really sure why. Taking a look at the dirt sheet here. Not really sure. Because it should be a little bit higher, but we did get a penalty. It must have really been this combination of these negatives really brought it down, unfortunately. But we give Bull Dempsey a win and start a road of dominance for Big Bull here. Unfortunately, he runs into a problem because Leo Kruger hops the barricade out of nowhere and attacks him and levels him down to the ground. And Kruger stands over him, holding his knife up, acting menacingly, before Bull Dempsey is able to kind of push him away and escape. So we see Leo Kruger is hunting Bull Dempsey, the beginning of his big game, and starting to set up a feud between the two. And obviously we start the hunting big game storyline between Leo Kruger and Bull Dempsey. We'll have to see how that shakes out as we advance over into another episode. And for our main event, we have Adrian Neville versus Yoshitatsu. They did not click at all, which is unfortunate, and Drake is still screwing up our refereeing. Neville had a 40, Yoshitatsu had a 34, and it had good heat, decent wrestling. Neville defeats Yoshitatsu in 3 minutes 31 seconds. with a pinfall after a shooting star senton, kind of providing some dominance, getting a rubber band win back from their tag team loss with Sami Zayn, and showing that as a singles competitor, Neville still is dominant. Segment could have been a little bit better, but not horrendous. And we end the show with Bo Dallas, who, after seeing Neville's win and Neville kind of holding up and grabbing his belt and still being in the ring, Bo Dallas enters to the front of the stage, stands at the center with a microphone, and speaks down towards Neville at the ring with a very large, creepy smile. And Dallas says, "Congratulations, Adrian. You did so well in that match tonight, defeating whoever that was. I'm so proud of you. It almost made up for that terribly depressing loss you and your pathetically incompetent friend had against Tyson Kidd and I last week." Neville looks visibly upset by Bo Dallas seemingly mocking him and attempts to exit the ring. Bo extends a finger out towards him as motioning to stop in his tracks, which Neville does do. Like, no. Don't be so uncivilized. You did a fantastic job at defeating me once. But some things are just a fluke. You deserve an opportunity to prove that you are a true champion and not just a one-hit wonder. I believe in you, Adrian. I will be watching you closely in anticipation because we are destined to meet again, and perhaps then you will be ready to show if you are truly a real champion or not. And Bo Dallas leaves and obviously calls out the shot, saying that Neville is a fluke champion and that Dallas is insinuating that he will take the title back from him. We don't know when that match will happen. Spoilers at some point in the next 20 days, but we call the shot out for Dallas. And we end the show with a 30 segment for this. I think we're going to end the show probably at 30. So consistent, not horrible. Let's go ahead and take a look. 29. We actually lost popularity in one region. I don't know which region that is, but we gained in 23. Definitely, we need to look at that refereeing. We also might need to do some backstage boosting to kind of tweak some people. Everybody seemed fine in terms of what we had. Sasha seems maybe under ranked here for us, so we might have to take a look at that. But overall, not too bad. It's a shame we lost that popularity somewhere. I don't know where that was, but we did gain 23 elsewhere, so not horrendous. All right, we got mail, got drug testing fees, and we had a .07. Not bad. Not too shabby at all. Oh, Samoa Joe is also another person we should make sure to shortlist as I'm thinking about it. Unfortunately, it looks like he was hurt. But, that does happen. Will Ospreay's doing stuff. Nothing crazy in the news that really pertains to us. Overall, the viewers was mainly positive, and won many friends. It's a weird term for that. Our debt still looking kind of not great. Broadcast revenue is not fantastic right now. Sponsorship also not fantastic, and we are costing a lot of money. We will have to see how that shakes up financially, but not much we can really do about it. We might be able to lower our production costs a little bit more. I think we have, as long as we are at equal, which is the white, we are not going to incur any penalties. So we could lose our general production values by 1 and our music by 1, which does cost a little bit. It would be $10,000 a month versus $25,000 a month, which is a pretty significant downgrade. Whoops, I don't want to hit that. And then production value, we would lose, cost $2,500 to do that, but then it would cost us $1,500 a month plus $500 a show to semi-pro, versus the $2,000 a show instead. I think we're going to do that now. I think we're going to do both. We'll go to in-house. Technically not wrong, though. Like CFOS at the time was doing all of the NXT music and are technically another company, but I think mostly they were kind of looked at as an in-house production studio. because that's pretty much all they did at that point. And that should help us financially a little bit. Again, a lot of our debt is going to be absorbed into our company, but we really don't know what that threshold looks like, so we don't want to go crazy and end up losing a lot of money right away. In terms of our production, where did we lose? I think we lost in Tri-State, I think, because we were at 30 there. So that's possible that's where we lost some footing. It says but we haven't actually, really lost anything from there yet. But we did gain 1 point. So it seems like if we keep this up, we're going to gain 1 point every 2 shows. So by the end of the summer here, we should be well into our small scale stage, which would be fantastic. But perhaps getting some bigger hires and bigger names into the wings may give us a positive effect. Neville has a morale issue, handling an incident of him earlier. That's fine. I think most of our morale issues are fine, so we should be okay. We do have to look at the issues with our referee and some of that going on, but I will do that off air. So that was NXT Live for us this week. I think it was pretty good. Could have been a little bit better because we did lose one. I am concerned that obviously we're going to be breaking up the Lucha Dragons, and I'm very concerned that we can't talent trade anybody down. So if you guys know of a way to do that, let me know. You can always send me a comment, or you can join our official Discord for Durger Time, the channel. It is in the description below. Always love having new people coming in. It's pretty fun. We talk about wrestling a lot. We also have some voice chat where every once in a while I'll pop in there and just chat with you guys. So definitely, if you want to join the discussion about the channel or just wrestling in general, go ahead and click on the Discord link, join up. It's a lot of fun. We'd love to see you back in there. Anyways, guys, that's it for me today. Thank you for joining me. I will see you next time for another episode of NXT